All right, here we are. We're going to session number 18. We're in chapter 3, second section, entitled Miracles as True Perception. Okay. So, let's begin. I have stated that the basic concepts referred to in this course are not matters of degree. Certain fundamental concepts cannot be understood in terms of opposites. It is impossible to conceive of light and darkness, or everything and nothing, as joint possibilities. They are all true or all false. It is essential that you realize your thinking will be erratic until a firm commitment to one or the other is made. A firm commitment to darkness or nothingness, however, is impossible. No one has ever lived who has not experienced some light and some thing. No one, therefore, is able to deny truth totally, even if he thinks he can. All right. So one of the things Jesus is saying here is that you either in the right mind or you're in the ego thought system. All right. There's really no in between. It's one or the other. Okay. It's our experience, however, and which he refers to as being erratic. Okay. It's essential that you realize your thinking will be erratic. All right. That means we experience like swaying back and forth from, excuse me, right-mindedness to wrong-mindedness, the ego thought system. And right-mindedness being where the corrected perception lies. Okay? So, it says they're either all true or all false. And your thinking will be erratic until a firm commitment to one or the other is made. All right? So it's the commitment. All right? Then he says, a firm commitment to darkness or nothingness, however, is impossible. Right? He says, because you carry the light with you, no matter how dim it seems to be. And, we can all look out around us and see situations and people in which the light seems to be non-existent, but it's there, right? It's just very well covered, right? Very well covered with the illusions, right? So no one, therefore, he says, no one is able to deny truth totally. Even if he thinks he can. Right? So, and that's a reference to us. We have denied the truth. The truth is that I am the offspring of the source, the original source, God. All right? We use the term God in the Course in Miracles. We use all Christian terms, right? Which I think is one of the things that made it sound so familiar to me in the beginning. I remember we used to talk about books and things and metaphysical things, and then one time she said, well, maybe I think you'd like this. And she read from the Course in Miracles, and I was like struck. And I said to myself, this is the Jesus I was looking for, right? And there it was. Okay, so no one is able to deny the truth, even though he thinks he can. All right, and that's choosing the ego thought system. Okay, we think we can deny who we are. All right, you are the offspring of the original source. All right, you are the Son of God, as we say in the Course in Miracles. You are a thought in the mind of God. Okay? So, paragraph 2 gets a little more succinct. He says, innocence is not a partial attribute. Innocence, is not real until it is total. The partly innocent are apt to be quite foolish at times. It is not until their innocence becomes a viewpoint with universal application that it becomes wisdom. Innocent or true perception means that you never misperceive and always see truly. More simply, it means that you never see what does not exist and always see what does. Okay. So he says, innocence is not a partial attribute. You are 100% innocent. Right? There's no speck of darkness in you, in spirit. Right? So it's not real until it is total. So the innocence is total in the oneness when we eventually realize that we are still in the oneness. We are still in that expansive space in which we were created, right? And in that space, our innocence is total and it's real. Okay? Jesus will talk about reality as that. Reality is the experience of the oneness. That's where reality is. Okay? It's in the mind of God, as we say. All right? Back where we were created, where we never left. Okay? So he says, the partly innocent are apt to be quite foolish at times. He's being very nice to me. All right? Because we do experience that swaying back and forth, you know? Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. You're swimming back and forth here, all right? So, those of us who do that, there's times when we could be quite foolish, right? And being foolish means solving perceived problems through the ego's thought system, through the ego's means, all right? The use of magic, as we said early on in our studies here, all right? There's a perceived problem, and we go through the attempts in the ego thought system to follow it, to take care of it, so to speak. All right? So we could be quite foolish at times. In other words, you make mistakes, all right? Because you think you're something that you're not. You think you're something that you're other than what you are, all right? That leads toward foolishness, and he's being very gentle there, okay? So it is not until their innocence becomes a viewpoint with universal application that it becomes wisdom. So my innocence blossoms into wisdom when I can see it all around me, when I see nothing else but innocence. Okay? It has a universal application. So innocent or true perception means that you never misperceive and you always see truly. Seeing truly means to be seeing through the filter of the right mind. Right? I use all kinds of metaphors when I ask for help, and sometimes I say, Jesus, help me see through your eyes. Through his eyes, right, with his guidance, I'm seeing truly. Right? So he goes, more simply, it means that you never see what does not exist and always see what does. So when I'm in that state where I only see what does truly exist, right, which is the oneness, right, the unity, we're all the same, right? We're not separate, and I never see what does not exist, which is the separation, which is the ego's idea. Let's be separate. Okay? So I'm always, at that point, looking out through the filter of oneness and understanding, which understanding arises. Everything arises from that. True perception. Right? The compassion arises. Right? Gentleness, patience. All kinds of things, consistent behavior, right? And that's in this is what walking around in the happy dream would be like, okay? So paragraph 3, section 2. When you lack confidence in what someone will do, you are attesting to your belief that he is not in his right mind. This is hardly a miracle-based frame of reference. It also has the disastrous effect of denying the power of the miracle. The miracle perceives everything as it is. If nothing but the truth exists, right-minded seeing cannot see anything but perfection. I have said that only what God creates, or what you create with the same will, has any real existence. This, then, is all the innocent can see. They do not suffer from distorted perception. So when I lack confidence, what he means by that is that when I'm seeing the other as guilty or volatile, or they're frightening me, they're making me angry, right? I'm lacking confidence in what they're going to do, which means I'm lacking confidence that they are a child of God. I'm lacking confidence in their innocence, okay? So when you lack confidence in what someone will do, you are attesting to your belief that he is not in his right mind. So already I'm judging that he is in the ego, all right? And this is hardly a miracle-based frame of reference, all right? It's not corrected vision, all right? I'll be reacting with my ego, right? It also has the disastrous effect of denying the power of the miracle. So it has the disastrous effect of thinking that the other doesn't have access to his right mind. Right? Forgetting that the mind is one, actually. Right? We only perceive separation. Right? So we're confused. Right? The miracle perceives everything as it is. So the miracle, the change in perception, perceives everything as it is. It's looking through the eyes, the filter of understanding. It's understanding what's happening, what's being said. If someone's acting out. All right? The miracle sees everything as it is. If nothing but truth exists, right-minded seeing cannot see anything but perfection. All right? Now this is, Jesus is speaking to us, telling us this is the way it is when you're, the idea of innocence can be universally applied, right? Then nothing but truth exists. Right-minded seeing cannot see anything but perfection. I have said that only what God creates, or what you create with the same will, has any real existence. This, then, is all the innocent can see. They do not suffer from distorted perception. All right? And this is one thing that later on in the books, Jesus will talk about, use a term, charity. Right? It's being able to see past the acting out of the other, to see past that, right to the innocence. Right? And with that ability, you're able to understand what's happening. Okay? You're seeing through the eyes of innocence. Right? And you're able to apply it even to someone who's acting erratically, someone who's acting as if they forgot who they are, they forgot where they belong, they forgot what they are. Right? So, paragraph 4, you are afraid of God's will because you have used your own mind, which he created in a likeness of his own. You've used it to miscreate. Right? The mind can miscreate only when it believes it is not free. An imprisoned mind is not free because it is possessed or held back by itself. Right? It is therefore limited, and the will is not free to assert itself. To be one is to be of one mind or will. When the will of the sonship and the Father are one, their perfect accord is heaven. Right? So when the will of the sonship and the Father are one, their perfect accord is heaven. This brings up for me one of the statements of the New Testament where Jesus says, I and the Father are one. I and the Father are one. That's the perfect accord. And we use a term like heaven for that. Right? There's no separation. There's no place where the Father ends and the Son begins. Right? I and the Father are one. Okay? So he says the mind can miscreate when it thinks that it's not free. It thinks that it's not in accord. The mind has turned its back on the oneness and then forgot that it did that. Right? And so we're in this world where, where's the escape? And the existentialists would say there's no escape. All right? That's pretty depressing. But there is an escape. Right? And the escape is in the right mind. It's just being willing to see correctly. Right? So only what you create with God is with the same will. The idea of creating in the oneness, extending the oneness. He says that's what's real. So when you believe you're not free, which is when you chose to believe that you were separated from God, that automatically imprisons us, right? Because the mind is possessed by the ego thought system. You sinned, you're guilty of something, right? And you should fear, right? Fear the future. It's coming. And that's that's the imprisoned thought of the ego. Right? So then the mind is held back by itself. It tries to work through that basic premise that I did something wrong, I'm missing something, I'm lacking something, there's something out there that's going to get me. Okay? So the mind runs around, it's possessed, so to speak. And it's therefore limited To be one is to be of one mind. Right? And to be one is to be in the mind of God. Right? To be one with the Father. That is what heaven is. Right? In paragraph 5. Nothing can prevail against the Son of God who commends his Spirit into the hands of the Father. By doing this, the mind awakens from its sleep and remembers its Creator. All sense of separation disappears. The Son of God is part of the Holy Trinity, but the Trinity itself is one. There is no confusion within its levels because they are of one mind and one will. This single purpose creates perfect integration and establishes the peace of God. Yet this vision can be perceived only by the truly innocent. Because their hearts are pure, the innocent defend true perception instead of defending themselves against it. Understanding the lesson of the atonement, they are without the wish to attack, and therefore they see truly. This is what the Bible means when it says, "When he shall appear, or be perceived, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is." Okay? That's taken from the first letter of John in Ephesus, writing to the Ephesians. All right? Trying to bolster up his followers, his group. All right? This is 95 to 100 years after the birth of Christ. All right? So say about 75 years, give or take, after the death of Christ, Jesus. All right? And here's John, and like I said earlier in the lessons, things got to be like the game of telephone. So all of a sudden there were different points of view, different interpretations of what went on, what happened, what did he say, all different kinds of interpretations. And this was John, who wrote the Gospel of John, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, right? And there were other writings in those days also, right? And this is him trying to bolster his crew, so to speak. And he said, when he shall appear, right, you shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. In other words, we're one, we're the same. All right? Jesus he said, you can do the things that I do. Right? He even says it in the course, somewhere in the course here. The things that I do, you will do. Right? And so we're one. Right? And when you see him, so to speak, when you become aware of your innocence in the right mind, you will know that you are like him, because you will see yourself as you are, and you will see him as he is, and you realize there's no separation. Okay? That is the true perception. Right? And then right in the beginning of that paragraph, he says, nothing can prevail against the Son of God who commends his Spirit into the hands of the Father. It's another reference to the New Testament, the scene of the crucifixion, where one of Jesus' last words is, into your hands I commend my spirit. All right? It's just Jesus using those words. Because remember, we use the Christian terms that came through. This is what the truth that came through Helen. And it took this form of Christian terminology and psychological terms and logic. All right? So, So nothing can prevail against the Son of God who commends his Spirit into the hands of the Father. Right? By doing this, the mind awakens from its sleep. Here's my little girl, Dixie, the cat, letting me know, I'm around here. Please come pet me sooner or later. It's either that or she's calling for room service, I'm not sure. Okay. But by commending ourselves into the Spirit, all right, we wake up. Right? By doing this, the mind awakens from its sleep. All right? We switch out of the ego thought system, and we remember our Creator. We remember our source and our relationship to our source. Okay? Later on in the course, Jesus will say it a little differently, but like I said, remember, he repeats things in different ways. He will very simply say, forget this world, forget this course, and come with wholly empty hands unto your God. Just a more poetic way of saying that nothing can prevail against the Son who commends his Spirit into the hands of his Father. He just later on very succinctly says, just come with wholly empty hands unto your God. Okay? Oh, she sounds so forlorn. Okay. Well, she has me wrapped around her little paw, so to speak. All right? Gina always says, you taught her how to talk. You taught her how to do that. Because I respond. All right? So, all right. When we wake up, all sense of separation disappears, he says. All right? All sense of separation disappears, and the Son of God is part of the Holy Trinity, but then he says, but the Trinity is one. Here, as a learning device, we use the idea of the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? The three parts of the Trinity. But he says, but when we wake up and realize there's no separation, everything is one, all right? Everything goes back to the way it always is. Everything goes back to the oneness, right? But the Trinity itself is one. There is no confusion within its levels because they are one mind and one will, right? And this single purpose creates perfect integration and establishes the peace of God, right? That wonderful, fertile peace of God in the mind. Okay? Yet this vision can be perceived only by the truly innocent, because their hearts are pure. The innocent defend true perception instead of defending themselves against it. Understanding the lesson of the atonement, they are without the wish to attack, and therefore they see truly. This is what the Bible means when it says, when he shall appear or be perceived, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. Paragraph 6. The way to correct distortions is to withdraw your faith in them and invest it only in what is true. You cannot make untruth true. If you are willing to accept what is true in everything you perceive, you let it be true for you. Truth overcomes all error, and those who live in error and emptiness can find lasting solace. If you perceive truly, you are canceling out misperceptions in yourself and in others simultaneously, because you see them as they are. You offer them your acceptance of their truth, so they can accept it for themselves. This is the healing the miracle induces. Right? You see them as they are. Right? You offer them your acceptance of the truth so they can accept it for themselves. Okay? All right. The way to correct distortions is to withdraw your faith in them and to invest it only in what is true. So withdraw your faith in the ego thought system, the idea of separation, and invest it in what is true, right? Which is the right mind, the right-minded way of thinking, the oneness. And when we do that, we carry this with us. We carry that understanding, that innocent perception with us, all right? And we are perceiving truly. And we're canceling out misperceptions in ourselves and in others at the same time. Right? Because you see them as they are. You see past the disguise of the ego, so to speak. You see them as they are. And you offer them your acceptance of their truth. Right? This is what we bring with us. Right? We bring with us the acceptance of the truth. You are the offspring of God. You never left the mind that thought of you. Right? And because you see them as they are, you offer them your acceptance of their truth so they can accept it for themselves. Right? We hold that space, as people would say. We hold that space for them. Right? Until they realize it themselves. And this is the healing that the miracle induces. The healing when that split mind is no longer split. Right? The change in perception induces that. Right? It starts the process. Right? The change in perception. Induces the healing of the separated mind. Okay, that's that. All right. And remember, if anybody has any questions, you can always message me. Right? And so right now I'm going to go see what my little Dixie star, I'm going to see what exactly is the problem. All right, the perceived problem. All right, everybody, good day. Thanks for being here.